What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I'm your co-host Donovan Quick, and today I'm going to be talking about the state of the Dolphins wide receiver room as a whole and what we should really be looking for going forward. All right, let's jump right into it. We're going to be first talking about the injuries a little bit and then jump into what we should kind of expect and see who makes roster and maybe something else. So we have Tyreek Hill that has an injured thumb. Now look, it's not anything serious, but he's not catching the ball currently. Mike McDaniel did say that, hey, if this was the regular season, if he absolutely needed to practice, absolutely needed to play, he would be. Now, but this isn't the time in the offseason to be doing that. This is the time to let him heal up for the regular season. We still got, 2 weeks away from the regular season. Wow, it's only 2 weeks. And so we want our guys to heal up properly. And it's very similar situation to what I'm hearing from beat reporters out there with Jalen Waddle as well. He was seen in pads today, did not participate in the team drills, but he was in pads, back from injury, undisclosed injury. We don't know what it is exactly, but we know that the Dolphins are being very cautious with their starters and making sure that they're going to get right before the season. Because once the season starts, you're going to get beat up on. You're going to be playing through injuries. It's just what happens. It's football. It's the NFL. It happens. And that very well could be for our third wide receiver as well with Odell Beckham. They're trying to bring him back very slowly. But I don't know exactly what's going on there because I've seen it's very concerning to some beat reporters out there and to me as well that he has not even really begun route running. Now, Mike McDaniel did not rule out that he's going to be back next week from the PUP. However, it's more than likely that he starts the season on the PUP list, bringing our fourth wide receiver back up to our third wide receiver, and that would be River Craycraft, who incidentally also is injured after catching the absolute dime from Tua Tagovailoa in the preseason game. He actually got injured on that play. And it looks like it's going to be a significant injury. Now, it's not season ending from what Mike McDaniel is saying, but how he said it probably means that he's going to go on the IR. Now, a lot of you are saying, well, if he hasn't gone on IR yet, why would he go now? Or, what's going on with that? And the reason is the new IR rules state that during the cutdown, which is next Tuesday, they can place 2 players on the IR and it not count against the 53-man roster. So if they put him on now, it won't, or it will count against the 50, or actually he'll be out for the season. But if they put him on, they can count next week. It won't count towards the 53. And so that leaves Braxton Berrios as our third wide receiver. And a lot of you know he's mainly a returner, but he works in the slot sometimes. So he's a, decent receiver, not anything to really brag about. But he also has been dealing with injuries as well. And you go down the line a little bit and it's like, well, we just lost our 2 biggest receivers, our two biggest receivers of our top 4 in River Craycraft and Odell. The other 2 that we have, Waddle and Tyreek, they're small. And now you have Braxton Berrios that's stepping into the 3 role, is now small as well. And look, there are worse wide receiver 3s out there. I like Braxton, and he's been in this offense this is going to be his second year now, or third year. No, it's his second in this offense. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do in this offense, picking it up a little bit more than some people may think. Now that brings you down to the 4-5 receiver role, right? And it's like, okay, who is going to take the cake? Because at the beginning of training camp, it was Malik Washington. Now it looks more like it's going to be Eric Ezukama. Now, Eric Ezukama had an outstanding OTAs, and I mean outstanding OTAs. However, he was injured most of training camp. He came back last week, played in the preseason game, and looked fantastic. Now, Jacob, in his winners and losers, he had him as a loser because of who he was playing with. He was playing in the third stringers and playing in the fourth quarter, which is typically what you don't see when you have a wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4 that are just like certified locked in, especially someone that's been dealing with injuries. That is, if there's someone that's locked into the roster, they're dealing with injuries, they're probably not playing in the fourth quarter of a preseason game. So I can understand his perspective from that. However, I think with that game, and him being really the only one to show anything in the fourth quarter receiver wise or playmaker wise, besides maybe Mike White, rolling out of the pocket a few times. It was good to see. And Chris Brooks got injured, so we had a wide receiver playing running back, so it was all fun to watch. Not really, but Eric Ezukanma was the one bright spot. And if you go back to last week, when it was basically the same guys out there minus Eric Ezukanma, no one made any plays. Malik Washington hasn't been able to get open. He had a couple of drops over the last 2 preseason games. Now, I get it. Most of the time when they're throwing it to him and he's not open, it's a fade route on the outside. And it's like, well, why are you throwing a guy that played in the slot for 90% of his snaps in college and throwing him on the outside? Maybe it's to get him uncomfortable. Maybe it's to, give him some diversity in his snap share to get him better. But honestly, if I see him in the regular season on the outside, I know it's for blocking, because that's the one thing he's able to do good from what I can see, is blocking, and he blocks very well, and that's going to be very pivotal for this offense, because last year, on the 15% of snaps that neither Waddle or Tyreek were on the field, we ran the ball at an 80% clip. The statistics are rounded, so bear with me on those. But and on the 80%, we still averaged over 5 yards a carry. So you're telling me that they know that we're going to run the ball at an 80% clip, and we're still able to average 5 yards a carry? That just shows you how great the run blocking is on every facet, and how great our running backs are, really, too. But you go to it and it's like, okay, a lot of it is outside zone runs. What do you need in outside zone runs? Blocking wide receivers. Craycraft did it to a lovely extent. Cedric Wilson also just absolutely took on that role of a blocking wide receiver. And look, I gave Cedric a lot of crap when he was here. He did that very well. So now you have no Craycraft to start the season, no Cedric Wilson. He's on the Saints now. A lot of you didn't know that. So you're going to have someone step up into that role, or maybe even 2 people step up into that role. And maybe they put Julian Hill out there. Maybe they put Jonnu out there. Maybe they throw in Eric Ezukanma, Malik Washington. Those 2 guys need to step up and need to do it in some way, some fashion. And that's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to take, is showing that you're great at run blocking. Because let's be honest, unless, knock on wood, Waddle or Tyreek go down, we really don't need them too much in the pass game. Like, obviously, we're going to need them at some point or another, but it's not really that much of a need besides the blocking. Now, I will say this. As of right now, I only see 5 rosterable players on our wide receiver group that I would want on our team in the regular season. And that's borderline from Malik Washington at this point for me. And I love Malik Washington. Odell is not healthy. He's on the PUP, so I'm not counting him. Craycraft is not healthy, probably going on IR. I'm not counting him. So you have Tyreek, Waddle, Berrios, Eric Ezukanma, and Malik Washington. That's 5 rosterable receivers. You really want to take 6, especially when you have the injury history of Waddle. Tyreek's currently banged up. The injury history of Berrios, injury history of Eric Ezukanma. And then you have Malik Washington, who is a 6th-round rookie who you really don't trust. So with that being said, I would be on the lookout for the Dolphins looking to the waivers, looking to free agency. There are still some good receivers out there. Now look, Dolphins love them some injured players. Tyreek hit up this player over the offseason. Could the Dolphins possibly reach out to Michael Thomas at the cutdown and be like, hey, not sure if we're going to play you for the full season. Not sure at all. Would you come here and be our guy? Would you come here and be our extra receiver? Because Michael Thomas, if you guys don't remember, they ran an outside zone run scheme a little bit over on the Saints. And every time Kamara got to the outside, who was there blocking? Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas, excellent route runner as well. Always injured. Always injured. I will say that. But that also means, maybe we don't need him for the full season. Because maybe he starts it off and Odell comes in and finishes off the season. We love ourselves some injury-prone players, right? Am I right? So Michael Thomas is one guy that I'm keeping my eye on as we approach the cut-down day. I'm also going to be looking for other players that are cut from other teams. It's going to be interesting because there was a lot of good receivers in this draft class, and a lot might not even make roster. I'd even be curious to see if Taj Washington, our 7th round draft pick, if we come to an injury settlement with him, release him, and then sign him back to the roster at some point. I know he was put on IR, but I was told it was just like a foot injury. I'm not sure if it was a Liz Frank injury and, it's going to take the entire season to heal. I don't know for sure, but if it's nothing super significant, I wouldn't doubt that we come to like a injury settlement. That's one thing to watch. Michael Thomas, another thing to watch, and just keep an eye on waivers because I feel like the Dolphins are going to be very active this time next week. Deuces, that's what I got for y'all today. Let me know what you guys think about the state of our wide receiver room in the comments below. Deuces.